It was the final Fukuoka Basho of the Heisei era. I just happened to be in Kyushu at the time on some business, and a friend and fan of the channel, Labier, which shout out dude, congratulations on your engagement, betrothal. He happened to be in Fukuoka as well, and so really there was only one option. Option A, show him around all the beautiful things Fukuoka had to offer. Option B, go watch some fat dude wrestling. And I bet you know what we did. This week's video, Sumo, how to become a master. Yeah, you wish your hands moved that fast. Wait! Oh, watch out. You want these hands? This video, as always, is brought to you by our lovely Patreons. You guys are snakes among mole rats. You're champions. And the weaker meat, the strong eat. Now, back to the real content. So, I am no expert in sumo wrestling, be it the performance or the analyzing. However, I know people who I would consider to be masters. And like everything on my channel, I don't teach you the thing. I give you resources from people who are already incredibly good at stuff, and it's the resources that I'm personally using, and we can walk the journey together. And that is no different from learning Japanese to figuring out big man butt touch, or sumo wrestling as it's colloquially referred to. Now, I personally got very interested in sumo long before I ever touched down in Japan. In fact, I didn't even get to see my first sumo wrestling match until last November. But I was watching sumo matches way before I was ever aware of what was actually going on, because I have this thing in my mind that really connects with Japanese history and culture. And this sport, being over 2,000 years old and incorporating aspects from different points of Japanese history, is just irresistible for me. And one of the things that kind of broke down the barrier of understanding what's going on and allowed me a glimpse into that history and that culture was a documentary I saw, I think, on the BBC. I'm often wrong, and just in case I am wrong, I'll link the YouTube boot of it down below. It is a little bit long, but it kind of has to be. It's like an introductory course into sumo, and sumo, being 2,000 years old, has lots of aspects. As much as we like to joke about it, it's not just grab ass. And this documentary, from the time that they're selecting the bouts to where it's going, how they build the ring, all the way through what goes on during the basho and even the basho. Gosh, I'm white. Even the closing ceremonies. It goes through all of it, breaking it down in English for you guys. Not for Japanese study, but comprehension of what's going on. And that's really important because that will play into how we get comprehension practice later. Now, the problem is, you might understand why they're doing the ring walk, or when they're throwing salt onto the ring. You may understand all of that, but when it comes to the actual wrestling, that documentary kind of falls short. That's where my friend Jason comes in. Jason, at the time of shooting this video, and I love his channel, has 34,000 subscribers, and let me tell you, for what he does, that is horribly less than what he deserves. Jason is all sumo all the time, and all of his uploads are sumo related, but my favorites, the things that I watch every single upload that he does. He puts all the ozeki and the major bouts up during the basho as it's happening. In fact, there's one right now happening in Osaka, so if you guys want to watch it happen the day that it happens, go to his channel. You can watch all the bouts that happen day to day. And he talks over them in English, so I gotta preface this again. This is not where you're learning Japanese. You're trying to understand the sport, because in sumo, it's not just pushing the opponent out of the ring. If one of their knees touch the ground, they're out. How do they decide whether or not one person or the other is out when both fall down at the same time? What are the grips? What are the grabs? What are the kicks? What are the techniques in what they're doing? How successful they are? Which ones are like the Hail Mary pass, and which ones are those short runs that you see every single week in football? All of these sumo has, and it's very complicated, and it's amazingly interesting to see a 2,000-year-old sport still playing out in front of us. And he explains all of this in great detail in English, still using the Japanese names, but explaining what it is in English. And if you guys are asking, my personal favorite wrestler is Tochinoshin, because it is amazing to watch nearly a 7-foot-tall behemoth of a white dude just throw people. Like the Amazing Hulk. When you look at him, you go, oh, that's the same species as me. I don't believe it. So I use that in conjunction with my previous knowledge from that BBC or whatever documentary that I have linked down below. And both of those gave me a huge insight into what's going on, how it's going on, and then when I'm watching it, what is actually taking place. And I gotta tell you, it was the difference from me going there to watch it. I took my friend Labier, and it was the difference between him just going, oh, this is kind of a cool cultural thing we're all taking part of, and me actually screaming when something remarkable happens, when something that doesn't happen very often, a certain hold is used, when someone's able to go inside the foot and push someone back, and it's like, freaking A, these are like 600-pound dudes. They're not 600, but they're big and they're beefy and they're doing amazing feats of athletics, and I only understood that because of Jason and some of these other documentaries that I was able to watch. And hopefully, if you guys are able to get to that point where you understand both the whole and the minor of what's going on, then you're gonna be able to use this to study Japanese. I actually have a link in the description down below. Whenever a boss show is on, which there happens to be one right now, there's a link down below to a thing called AQ stream. It's basically a stream of like 6 or 7 local channels, which tend to be the channels that have sumo on them, much like football in the US or soccer in Europe. And you can go on there when there's a boss show and watch it live. There is no English, there is no subtitles. So, hopefully, with both of these resources, you have learned enough of the Japanese terms and what they actually mean that when you watch it, you're going to be able to apply it and know what's going on. And it, in my opinion, has to be one of the coolest Japanese sports ever. And I've played on Japanese rugby teams, I've shot Japanese archery with high schools, I've been to Japanese volleyball championships. You guys can see that video, that was my video last week. I've been immersed into the pool of Japanese dope sports, and sumo, for some reason with me, resonates so deeply. And I would love to have you guys also share that resonance. So check out Jason's channel. The link for the BBC and the AQ stream are down below. There's a boss show live this week, so watch it. It's really fun. And like always, if any of these resources helped you, it would help me a ton if you could like the video down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments, leave them in the comment box down below. I do personally read all of them. I have no slaves here. I have no monkeys on typewriters. I read your comments. And if you like this video, check out my other videos. I have over 350 videos on Japan, Japanese culture, Japanese language, and all of it is here for you to use for free. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. You'll be adding to the 12,000 plus of you now that have somehow found me not too unbearably annoying to not keep watching. Quick shout out, thank you guys so much for the St. Chetty's live stream. It is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and we raised enough to open 4 Patreon manga slots down below. If you guys are interested in joining, check that out. I'll be back in Japan in October, so if any of you guys are hanging out, come meet with me. I'll be there basically the entire month. All right, I think that's it. Have a good week, everybody. Love hard, love deep, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.